call this AccuWeather After Hours. How's that? I'm going to take your questions. It's a pretty casual format. I'll be able to go a little bit more in depth than I go on TV because we have basically unlimited amounts of time to talk. And it's always great to interact with all of our viewers out there and, to talk about the weather situation and then any other questions, weather-related or non-weather-related, that you may have. Emily DeHope is the first person on tonight. Big shout out to her. She's a longtime viewer. Also, Justin Trebosh. He always comes on and asks some good questions. And I hope I can say the same for all of you by the end of tonight. Rebecca Jansen and Joseph Will coming on here. Getting the number of viewers increasing right now. Behind me, the Weather Center. Yeah, it's a little bit messy over there. Sorry about that. These are all our monitors. These are all our different computers that we use to build our graphics and to create our forecast. There's a lot of work that goes into it before we get on the air. And tonight we will be on at 11 o'clock. Of course, last night college football caused us to go on late, as it does Saturday nights in the fall. But tonight you can count on us. Eyewitness News at 11 o'clock, and it's a 1-hour show. Of course, that goes right through midnight. Kirsten Noel Vaccaro, how long have you been a weatherman? I've been a weatherman, meteorologist. Let me see here. Coming up on 13 years pretty soon. Started in West Virginia. Little town in West Virginia called Oak Hill. It's right near Beckley, southern part of the state. And then I moved to Albany, and then here to New York City to Channel 7. Came to Channel 7 back in 2007. 07, right at the beginning of the year. Donna Palmieri, what is the weather forecast for tomorrow? Well, that's a good question. That's why you're on here probably, right? Tomorrow looks like we're going to have a chilly, gusty wind out there. Not quite as windy as today. I'm not expecting winds to be gusting past 40 miles per hour like they were at times this afternoon, but there could be 15 to 25, gusts up to 30. The high temperature in the city tomorrow, we're going for about 59, and we'll have clearing skies. Very early in the day, actually I don't even want to say that because any of the shower activity that happens overnight tonight will be gone by dawn. Showers basically while you're sleeping overnight tonight, especially areas north of the city, and then it all moves offshore early tomorrow morning, and we'll be left with actually a mainly sunny day. Skies will clear out after some clouds initially, but you'll really notice the wind, and you'll notice the temperatures don't get out of the 50s, so it is going to feel pretty chilly out there. Let me see here. Look at this. Karen Sunshine Marshner Cassell. When will spring begin in central New York? Wow. We're getting a little ahead of ourselves, right? Talking about spring already. Based on the forecast for this winter, it could be one of those winters where it kind of gets extended into the beginning of spring. So I wouldn't expect any spring-like weather until April. We probably had our last hurrah with summer-like weather this past week when we got up to 85 degrees last week on Wednesday in New York City. Rocky Brown, are we still going to have showers tonight, or are we good? I think there will be a couple of showers late tonight, mainly after midnight, and especially north of New York City. There could actually be a steadier period of rain areas north of the city between, say, 1 a.m. and 4 a.m. And then as quickly as that all moves in, it moves out of here by later on tonight. Again, it's gone by the time the sun comes up. Let's see here. Christopher Robin Lochner. Hey, Jeff, what was blowing around MetLife Stadium this afternoon? It looked like snow. Well, I can assure you it was not snow. We had temperatures up into the low 60s this afternoon. Maybe it was some litter. Maybe it was some popcorn. Maybe people were throwing popcorn up in the stands or something. It could have been maybe some seeds coming in off of trees. Anything, when you have winds of 40, 45 miles per hour and gusts, that can stir up a whole bunch of stuff. I would guess it was probably some seeds coming off of trees that you were seeing. It was definitely not snow. I can guarantee you that one. Do you know the weather for November 1st? Asks Amanda Marie Osborne. Not quite yet. Ask us on Tuesday. We'll have a much better idea because November 1st is not this Tuesday, but the following Tuesday. So we'll have a better idea of the weather by then. Marisol Quinones, how's your bundle of joy doing? Meaning the baby. My baby's doing great. He, last I checked, he was crying. And I think he was a little bit hungry. And that's when I decided to leave and head on back to work. my wife can deal with that for this evening. I hope that didn't sound really mean. Let's see here. What is it with all the acorns? Bad winter, says Mindy Forte. I actually looked into this a couple of weeks ago. A lot of people commenting on how there are way more acorns than usual this year that they're seeing on the ground. And it's a cyclical thing, and it has nothing to do, it doesn't have any correlation to how bad the winter is going to be. Just some seasons you end up getting more acorns falling off the trees. Hey, the squirrels are happy, right? Let's see here. Will it stay chilly this week, asks Mike McFadden. Yeah, it is going to stay pretty chilly. As a matter of fact, it's going to get even colder. Tomorrow we're talking upper 50s for highs, and then Tuesday we're going to struggle actually to get up to 50. Much of the day will be spent in the 40s. It'll feel even colder. We'll probably have temperatures to start the day at the coldest levels we've had so far this season in New York City, probably down about 43, and then Tuesday night gets down into the upper 30s even in the city. Wednesday, probably struggling again to get up to 50. Some of our computer models are showing Wednesday only staying in the 40s. Right now we're sticking with a high of about 51. Wednesday will feel a whole lot better than Tuesday, by the way, even if the high temperature Wednesday is lower than it is on Tuesday, just because the wind will be lighter. High pressure will be kind of smack dab right over us during the day on Wednesday, which will promote pretty calm wind, and it'll be sunny too, so it won't feel too bad, even though temperatures might struggle to get much past the 50-degree mark. It does start warming up a little bit by later in the week. I mean, Thursday we're still in the low 50s, and we have rain coming in Thursday. Friday, probably up around 60, on Saturday, which is pretty normal for this time of the year. Let me see here. Thank you, Linda Douglas, for saying that Channel 7 is your only channel. We love you too. She said, I love you. Let me see here. Justin Freebird, I'm in the middle of songwriting, and then I get an exciting notification from Jeff Smith, so I must watch. Well, thank you so much. And Justin, I got to check out that album that you were telling me about last time. Robert Gainey, when is hurricane season officially over? Hurricane season officially ends on the last day of November, so November 30th. It doesn't mean you couldn't get some type of tropical system somewhere in the Atlantic Basin after that time. It just means the highest frequency of storms is basically between June 1st and November 30th. That's when hurricane season is officially defined. Justin Trebosh, should I wear my new winter jacket to the bus stop tomorrow? Early in the morning, we'll probably have temperatures, at least in and around the city, in the lower 50s. So I don't know if it really requires a winter jacket. If you have a fall jacket, that might be more in order. You will need the winter jacket, I think, especially by Tuesday morning and Wednesday morning. Tuesday morning in the low 40s, Wednesday morning even in the city, getting down into the upper 30s. Cheryl Villegas, when is the snow going to happen? We had some snow not too far from here during the day on Saturday. Had some reports from Sullivan County of getting snow in the higher elevations up there, the Catskills. Also, the Adirondacks, way upstate, had reports of between 3 and 5 inches of snow in some of the higher elevations there. And also the Green Mountains of Vermont, White Mountains of New Hampshire and Maine, the Berkshires of Massachusetts had some accumulating snow, kind of maybe getting ski season off to an early start there. But nothing so far here in the city. We'll have to see when it actually happens. We just got to take it week by week at this point. Noreen Fratello, thank you for the report. 47 degrees in Port Jervis, New York. Let me see here. Kara Mars, any idea for Halloween weekend? Well, right now, Kara, it looks like next Saturday, we'll have variable cloudiness. There could be a couple of showers around. We'll probably have temperatures in the lower 60s during the day, and then just kind of a blend of clouds and sun on Sunday. Temperatures in the probably in the upper 50s, a little bit cooler than it is on Saturday. So that's what it looks like for Halloween weekend so far. I'm sure a lot of people celebrating Halloween over the weekend versus on Monday. Who wants to celebrate Halloween on a Monday, right? Let's see here. Rodney Owens, is there an abnormal amount of snow predicted for this winter? At this point, our best estimate on the winter is near normal to maybe slightly above normal snowfall. That's a very early guess. Again, you have to take seasonal forecasting kind of with a grain of salt because it doesn't tend to be the most accurate kind of forecasting. The shorter term, the better. But right now, we're going for slightly more numerous storms than last winter. Last winter was kind of characterized by that one big storm in January. It actually dropped most of the snow for the winter. And probably have more numerous smaller storms this winter, clipper systems moving on by and dropping smaller amounts of snowfall. So that's what we're looking at. Probably near normal to maybe slightly above. That's our best guesstimate at this point. Rocky Brown, as long as this doesn't affect the morning commute. In terms of the rainfall, I don't expect it to actually affect the morning commute. As a matter of fact, like I was saying earlier, I think the rain, any of the shower activity that happens from the city and points north overnight tonight will be gone by the time the sun comes up. Let's see here. Lots of good questions on here. I'm going to try to get to some of the live questions right now. Let me see. Anita Murphy, how does this winter look as far as big snowfalls? We live in Ocean County, New Jersey. Like I was saying a little bit earlier, probably more numerous storms this winter. I think it'll be a winter that's characterized by mixing with sleet and changing over to rain, maybe limiting some of the accumulations south of New York City in places like Ocean County, New Jersey. So that might actually limit the accumulations. But in general, a pretty typical winter. And that's what you expect in a very, that would be a very typical winter around here. You get a little bit less snow south and east of New York City, where you get the changeovers during some of these storms. And don't forget, we have warmer than normal ocean water temperatures off of the coast. So once you get a wind off of those ocean waters, it will tend to moderate the temperatures. You know, if you get a real cold blast coming in here, it tends to moderate temperatures once you get the wind shifting in from the east and the northeast. And as we head into the storms, that's typically the direction the wind is coming from. So that can end up changing it over to rain and something other than snow, sleet, that type of thing, as we head into the winter. Tyler Morocco, why aren't you watching The Walking Dead? I've actually never seen The Walking Dead before, but I just saw that our own Carolina Lead and our own Liz Cho tweeting about it. You can check their Twitter feeds. They're talking about how it's the most amazing show ever. But I never got into it. I'll have to check it out sometime. Everyone's watching. Janet Cologne, we're watching The Walking Dead. Wait till it finishes. LOL. Phil Clavin, 43 in Sussex County right now. Not surprised that you get some of the colder conditions in extreme northwestern New Jersey. I like Sussex County. I go golfing there. Or I used to go golfing before we had the baby quite a bit. Up to the Crystal Springs Resort there. They have a bunch of different golf courses. They got Wild Turkey. They got Ballyowen. They've got Crystal Springs. They've got Cascades. A lot of good golf up in that area. Love Sussex County, New Jersey. So pretty. And this time of year with the colors changing. Let's see here. Lynn Freda. We saw snow flurries Saturday in Chantilly in Sullivan County. Not surprised. Yeah, we were just talking about how areas well north and west of the city definitely had some snowfall, at least in the air, not necessarily accumulating during the day yesterday. Liz Mikowski, I'm sorry. I thought it ends November 1st. Talking about hurricane season, I'm assuming. I go on a cruise on November 13th to the Bahamas. Should I be worried? I wouldn't be worried. I wouldn't be overly worried at this point. You got to take it week by week. But hurricane season does not end until November 30th. And the better chance of getting storms later in the season is in the Caribbean and the Gulf of Mexico, where the water remains warm enough to support those types of storms. But I wouldn't worry about it at this point. I mean, there's nothing out there that's of concern at this point. Actually, conditions are very unfavorable for development in the Atlantic Basin right now. There's a lot of wind shear. There's a lot of dry air. There's one tropical wave trying to work its way across the ocean from Africa, and it's gonna run into some pretty unfavorable, hostile conditions for development. Sharon Connolly, hi Jeff. It was crazy windy here in Suffolk. Thank God they have died down. I have 19 old oaks around my little house. We actually had reports of trees down in portions of Suffolk County during the day. Today we had winds gusting. Actually, West Hampton, I saw that was the highest wind gust in the area, 46 miles per hour. So I'm not surprised we had some reports of trees down. Stephanie Neal and Oven, is the foliage still at its peak up in New Paltz? I would say yes. The only problem is we've had wind, the past couple of days, and that's contributed to a lot of the leaves actually falling off of the trees. So foliage might not be quite as good as it could be, had we hadn't had all that wind the past couple of days around here. All right, let's see here. Kirsten Noel Vaccaro, Jeff, do you like Facebook? If I didn't like Facebook, I wouldn't do these, 30 or 40 minute Facebook lives with you guys. So yeah, it's really a great way, especially with Facebook Live. I think that's been really the best feature of Facebook so far for us broadcasters, because we can just, without even a camera, we just use our phones. We can just get on live. If we're out reporting on something, we can get on live even before we could do it on TV. So it's really great, and it kind of promotes a little bit of a casual format, and I love that you guys can ask questions as we're doing it. So that can, it's very interactive. It's very interactive. Lori Sutton, hi Jeff from Sussex County. Is the warm weather gone? I think the really warm weather, that we had this past week is pretty much gone. I think that was kind of summer's last hurrah. As we went into Wednesday when it got up to 85 degrees. So I think the really warm weather might be gone. So sorry about that if you like the summertime type of weather. You never know. I mean, just case in point, the record high for today, which was set back, I believe, in the 1940s, was 85 degrees. Or it might have been the 70s. I'm not sure. It was 85 degrees, though, the record high for this particular date. So it still can get warm late in the season, but I would not count on it. Steph Annie, any El Nino this year? Warmer temps? No, we actually have the opposite of El Nino, a slight La Nina. So we have cooler water temperatures in the Pacific Ocean, and that's going to promote a very different weather pattern as we head into this winter. Temperatures this winter probably 3 to 5 degrees cooler than they were last winter on average. Last winter was a few degrees above normal, though, so we're looking at a closer to normal winter in terms of temperatures. And that answers Sarish Bangash's question: will it be colder this year? And it looks like it will be. Margarita Acevedo, love this channel better than CBS, NBC, and Pix 11. Well, thank you so much. We always love to hear that. Shirley Olson, when is Amy Freeze back? Do you know? We're just playing it by ear. She got a little injury, a little exercise-related injury, and she may be back next weekend. We'll have to see. It's the type of thing, with your calf muscle, you just got to let it heal. You don't want to put too much pressure on it. You don't want to rush back into work. So we're all hoping Amy feels better, but she may be back. She may be back next weekend. Liz Mikalski, I'm really concerned about my cruise November 13th to the Bahamas. I wouldn't get too concerned at this point about that. I actually went on a cruise to the Bahamas right in the middle of hurricane season. It was July a few years ago. And I remember there was some of the computer models were predicting some type of storm forming off the coast, but it never ended up happening. So you never know. Hurricane season again lasts right through November 30th. Okay, here we go. How old were you? Sharon Woody, how old were you when you decided to study to be a weatherman? I was very young when I realized I was into weather. I was probably 4 or 5 years old. And when I first entered college, I kind of kept my options open in terms of what I was going to study. And then I realized, no, I got to go back to my first love, which is meteorology, which is weather. So I did that. During my freshman year, I pretty much transferred to the correct program to major in meteorology, and haven't looked back since. So I guess you could say the first time I decided was when I was probably 4 or 5. Michael Morley, why does ABC lie about the poll numbers? Ooh, here we go. We're going to talk politics now. Yeah, the ABC Washington Post poll, tracking poll came out this morning. and it had Hillary Clinton up, I believe, 12 points. It was the first double-digit lead she had had. There are other polls out there, though. There's Investors Business Daily that has Trump actually leading by 2. You have the LA Times USC tracking poll that has a tie or Trump slightly leading. There are other polls that have Clinton leading by a little bit less than the ABC Washington Post poll. And it all depends on the polling methodology. The pollsters will take into account what they think the electorate is going to look like in terms of the number of Democrats versus Republicans versus independents. And also, they try to model, how many of these likely voters are going to actually show up to the polls based on demographic information. So every poll is going to be a little bit different. And, we're just going to have to wait and see at the end to see which poll was correct. It seems like every election cycle, one of the major polling companies can claim victory. Methodologies work differently in different political climates as well. This is a political climate where you have a populist rising up in one party, and that can definitely affect turnout. That can affect also what people say, who people say they're going to vote for, to a pollster, to a human being, versus what they do in the anonymity of a voting booth. So we'll have to see. But ABC is not lying about the poll numbers. They happen to use a certain methodology, and they tried to scientifically, accurately, conduct the poll, and all the other pollsters are trying to do that too. And it's just kind of a competition. So we'll see who ends up being right in the end. All right. Stephanie, who remembers the blizzard of 93? Back to weather. I remember the blizzard of 93 very well. I remember I was in my driveway shoveling, in my parents' driveway, and the wind was screaming so hard. I mean, you could actually hear trees snapping in the background. My dad said we had to go inside because he thought it was dangerous out there. But that was a very memorable storm. One of the strongest storms ever to move up the eastern seaboard, the blizzard of March 1993. Changed over to rain where I was in southeastern New England. I believe it changed over to sleet or rain here in New York City. But there was a heck of a lot of snow in upstate New York, especially over by Syracuse, upwards of 4 feet of snow up there in the blizzard of 93. Alex Epstein, what is the weather pattern looking like next spring and summer? Alex, let's just get through winter first. Way too tough to tell at this point. And it depends on this La Nina. Is it a weak La Nina? Is it going to try to strengthen as we head deeper into the winter and into the spring? So it'll be interesting to see. Let me see. Edward Everett, how much longer do you think we will have this Indian summer? Now, Indian summer is a term that is used to describe when you have warm weather after your first frost. And for parts of the area, especially last week when you had temperatures in the 80s, these areas that were north and west of New York City that already had their first frost, it would definitely be considered an Indian summer. But it's kind of done now. This week, our warmest temperatures are probably going to be in the low 60s by the end of the week, by Friday into Saturday. I would not call that Indian summer type of weather. Lisa Obb, any other hurricanes out there? No, there's a disturbance moving across the Atlantic right now, but it almost has no chance of actually developing. I'm sorry for all these bright screens in the background. I know it's a little bit distracting. Let's see here. Sharon Woody, polls are like the weather forecast. Every station is different. And that's a good point, actually, Sharon. When you look at these polls that come out, these political polls, a lot of times you'd want to take an average. The average of the polls will tend to be more accurate than any one individual poll. So just because, ABC News and Washington Post came out with this poll that was plus 12, there are other polls that show a much tighter race, so it doesn't mean that ours is necessarily the most accurate. And it all depends on the polling methodology, like I was saying. And those polling methodologies are probably adjusted for the current political climate. Juan Carlos Cusquillo, how old are you, Jeff? I'm in my 30s, I will tell you that much. Wanda Ferrer, what is the weather going to be like tomorrow? Tomorrow, expect a chilly, gusty wind. And We'll have clouds in the morning, and then it'll tend to clear out during the day. We'll have temperatures probably topping off in the upper 50s. And then tomorrow night we'll get down to about 43, one of our coldest nights of the season. Anthony Vicari, you look like the guy from American Psycho. I'll take that as a compliment. How's that? That was a good movie, by the way. You ever seen American Psycho? Any of you guys out there? Let's see here. Lori Sutton, where are you from originally? I'm from the Boston area. I'm from Plymouth, Massachusetts originally. I'm a pilgrim. You know, Plymouth Rock, the Mayflower. That's where I'm from. Let's see. Ashley Lucan Osborne, what is the weather like for Halloween? A little bit too early to tell. I think tomorrow actually we'll have a much better idea. You know, we'll be within that 7-day range at that point. I was looking at one of the models and it was showing a disturbance moving on by, Clipper type of disturbance, so there could be some rain, but that's way off in the future. That can definitely change between now and then. Robert Policasto, do you remember the blizzard of 1996? I remember that vividly. And the reason being is this was a very important day for me. It was the first time I ever experienced thunder snow. I remember waking up early that morning to go turn on the TV to see if school was going to be in session that day, to see all the school closings at the bottom of the screen, which I'm sure all you students do out there when it snows out. And I remember turning on the TV and I saw this big flash outside. I didn't even know what it was at first. I thought it might have been maybe a power transformer blowing up or something, and then I heard the thunder. So that was a pretty neat experience. That was the first time I ever experienced thunder snow. We were getting snow at the rate of 4 or 5 inches per hour during that part of the storm. We ended up with about 2 feet where I grew up in Plymouth, Mass. Joanne Figgs, I'm just thankful you don't say who you're voting for, Jeff. That's right, we do not do that. As journalists, we are unbiased, and we are not going to first of all, you don't want to politically influence any election by telling people who you're voting for. And second of all, as journalists, you're not supposed to do that. Mike Olson, what happened to acid rain? There is still acid rain out there occasionally. But the good news is we've definitely cleaned up in this country with air pollution. And air pollution was really the main contributor to acid rain. So that, you know, you heard about acid rain a lot, especially back in the 70s and 80s when air pollution was probably a lot worse than it is right now. So that's good news. Let's see here. Rocco Fredella. Jeff, do you think we can have a clipper or two to blow up into blizzards for us with some Greenland blocks? I like how you mentioned the Greenland block. That's always a possibility. You know, I was mentioning earlier this winter it looks like there'll be more numerous storms. Maybe it's clipper-like systems. And some of these can occasionally slow down right off of the Atlantic seaboard and gather some moisture off of the Gulf Stream and warmth and energy off of the Gulf Stream and turn into bigger storms. So I just got a message from Verizon saying I've used 90% of my data for this cycle. That's not good. It's probably because I'm doing these Facebook Lives. You know what the problem is? I turn off the Wi-Fi because the Wi-Fi in the building is not that great sometimes, and I'm on LTE and I'm using up a ton of data. So I don't want to go crazy with the data here. Let's see here. So anyway, with those Greenland blocks, sorry I get distracted by that. With these Greenland blocks, basically a ridge of high pressure over Greenland, and it causes the atmosphere to basically there's a roadblock in the atmosphere due to that, and it can cause storms along the east coast of the U.S. to slow down, and end up intensifying offshore. Somebody's asking me for dating advice. Justin Freeberg, Jeff, dating advice. I'm single at the moment. Just be yourself. That's the most important dating advice I can give. Valerie Otero says, use the Wi-Fi. The problem is I use the Wi-Fi, but sometimes it's slow. A lot of people in this building are trying to use Wi-Fi, so it ends up actually stopping the Facebook Live feed for you guys. So I don't want to do that. Let's see here. When is the rain coming, says Vanessa Lloyd. We will have a shower or two in and around New York City after midnight tonight. It probably waits until after about 2 o'clock in the morning. And then it's out of here by the time the sun comes up. North of the city, there could actually be more numerous showers for a time, for a few hours overnight tonight. And again, everything's gone by morning. Loretta Bloomfield, is there a certain time of day that thunder snow takes place? No, not really. It's not like summertime type of thunderstorms where you get more storms in the afternoon with the daytime heating. Thunder snow, just checking the time here because I got to get ready for my show. Thunder snow happens during unstable situations within a snowstorm. So it usually happens when you have an upper level low aloft with some really cold air aloft, creating instability near the surface. And that could happen at night. That could happen during the day. That could happen anytime. So thunder snow can happen anytime during a big snowstorm. Let's see here. Brett Bibleberg. Jeff, how do you manage to stay awake when you're pulling double shifts? Luckily, Brett, I live close to the station. That's really the most important factor here. So I am able to zoom home. I'm able to walk home and go right to sleep for a few hours, get up, and then come back into work. So between shows, I'm actually able to go take a nap. So that's how I'm actually alive right now. That's how I'm awake right now. Let's see here. Hey Jeff, can we predict if we would ever get a gamma ray burst? Watched a whole show about it, says Alex Epstein. Gamma ray bursts are kind of scary. And that would probably happen if you had a supernova from, a faraway collapsing star. And when you have a supernova, when these collapsing stars explode into what you call a supernova, you can get a gamma ray burst. And some people even theorize that gamma ray bursts were part of the reason for some of the extinctions on Earth. The gamma ray burst actually was able to sterilize living things on Earth so they couldn't reproduce. And that's one theory as to why there were certain extinctions. Not necessarily the extinction that killed the dinosaurs. That seems to have been solidified, the theory, and that's solidified as an asteroid strike down in the Yucatan Peninsula. But I think it would be very tough to predict if we would get a gamma ray burst. You'd have to really keep an eye on individual stars and see what part of the life cycle they're in before you get these stars exploding into a supernova. Tara Ann Wenner, do you drink Monster? No, I do not. I don't do any energy drinks. I don't even drink coffee. I just survive on water and food. Very boring, right? Very boring. Let me see here. Any more questions? Sarah Lacour, have a nice night, Jeff. All my Brazilian friends are here now enjoying you. Thanks for the weather live video. You are great. Well, thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate that. I really appreciate that. Let's see here. Pat Baumgartel. Is the baby dressing up for Halloween? Yeah, we're going to dress up the baby. Actually, my wife wants to create a jack-o'-lantern type of setup and put the baby in the jack-o'-lantern. So we'll have to see how that looks. But also we had bought a little superhero outfit for him. So I'll definitely post the pictures. And somebody just asked, Paula Lebu, forget about the weather. How's the baby doing? We need more pictures. I will post more pictures on Facebook as soon as we get. If I see the baby looking cute, looking extra cute, I'll definitely post some pictures. Especially if we dress him up for dress him up for Halloween. Let's see here. La Crespa. What's the weather going to be like in Elizabeth, New Jersey tomorrow? Like I've been saying all along, probably expect a chilly, gusty wind during the day. Clouds giving way to a lot of sunshine. Temperatures probably topping off in the upper 50s. All right. I think we're good. I don't want to run out of data on my phone here. But It's 10:20 right now. In 40 minutes, we've got Eyewitness News at 11. I will see you then. Thank you all for tuning in. I really appreciate it. And I'm sure I will see you again next weekend on Facebook Live. But in the meantime, tune in to us at 11 o'clock tonight. We'll have all your news and sports and weather of the day. I'll have your full AccuWeather 7-day forecast coming up on Eyewitness News at 11. I will see you then. Have a great night. Have a great week, everyone.